Welcome. I'm here with John Adamson, the CEO of DeoBioSciences. John, thanks for being with us. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks, Michael.
Absolutely. Pleasure to have you here. Can you start? Just give us a quick intro of the company. What do you guys do? What kind of background can you give us?
Sure. We're a small but ambitious preclinical stage biotech startup that's reverse engineering an intriguing, unique, broad-based, naturally sourced biomolecule that's codenamed DBX31 as a potential anti-cancer therapy for people and pets, specifically dogs and cats. And our equity crowdfunding campaign that's currently happening on netcapital.com just hit triple digit investor numbers representing all parts of the world, all continents, except the Antarctic. We're working on that though. And all investor types from retail individuals to trust funds. And we have a very modest raise objective and very reasonable minimum investment amount, but we can't share that here for SEC legal reasons. But all the details are on our Net Capital page.
Amazing. Okay, great start. Excited to watch you guys get into that Antarctica market, of course. But John, start taking us through some of the details here. What are some of your most exciting points about your research today?
Sure. Well, first off, the research results were independently conducted and confirmed at Cornell University. They were externally validated results. So I think it's important to emphasize this is not just in-house assertions about what our data says. This was externally validated data from a very reputable third-party institution and scientists and researchers there at Cornell University. So I think it's important to emphasize. Now, those results in more detail involve DBX31 killing 100% of advanced stage metastatic stage cancer cell lines that were tested without harming non-cancerous cells. So it shows targeted biospecificity both in lab conditions and in anecdotal data involving living organisms under observational studies covering numerous types of solid tumors. No hematological malignancies have been tested yet, but that's still a massive percentage of the cancer patient population. And eventually, if things go well with solid tumors, we'll, of course, move into hematological malignancy as well. We've outperformed, in the course of those experiments, we outperformed two of the most potent FDA-approved multi-billion-dollar chemo drugs in identical tests and other experimental cytotoxic drug candidates as well. We placed in the top 10% of biotech startups that competed for a partnering meeting with a major global biotech giant who shall remain nameless at this point on this broadcast. And we have confirmed interest in potential partnering from multiple global pharma biotechs depending on our next round of data. And I say last but not least, our next phase of development represents a potentially dramatic inflection point because it'll provide data that is 90 to 98% reliable in predicting our future clinical trial results. So if we repeat our prior test results, we can dramatically de-risk our next round of R&D and be much better positioned for partnerships and further investment. Oh, and I forgot to say, we also received unsolicited endorsements from Business Insider and InvestorPlace.com.
Terrific. Okay, outstanding track record, of course, all really good information. And I want to go back there. Let's drill down on that last point then about predicting the future clinical trial performance. What other insight can you give us there?
Sure. Preclinical data today isn't what it was a few years ago. There are a number of translational models and technologies online today that weren't available 5 or 10 years ago that can dramatically de-risk drug candidates prior to clinical trials and the prospects for being blindsided by clinical failure. So being preclinical today doesn't necessarily mean that you're too early for major investment, as we've seen this year with a number of preclinical IPOs. We're planning to evaluate DBX31 in special mouse models called orthotopic patient-derived xenografts. OPDX is the acronym for that, and the exact same tissue types that we've already seen success in. This basically means that we take an intact human tumor and preserve the extracellular matrix and tumor microenvironment. Then we implant it in a mouse so that all the characteristics that normally derail a drug candidate in clinical trials are still there, even though it's being tested in a mouse. So basically, it's using a mouse as a predictive avatar of a human. And they're so reliable and accurate that they've been used as treatment predictors in actual real-world cancer patients for the last half decade. They have a proven record of predicting clinical outcomes of certain types of cancer drugs. And fortunately, DBX31 happens to fall in the molecular and therapeutic class of drugs that tend to be very predictable by this model. And the basis for our cautious optimism is that preclinical in vitro data can be statistically predictive of clinical outcomes as well under the right conditions, based on published studies by revered institutions like the National Cancer Institute of Canada. And DBX31 has met the majority of those right conditions so far. So the results we have today, while not guaranteeing future results, they are still very relevant to making predictions and extrapolations. And combined with OPDX results that we might be able to obtain at the next phase, they would really provide statistically strong and reliable indications of future expectations for this candidate.
Fantastic. All right, John, you've given us some really good information. Can you take us into the close here? Recap for us just some final points about what makes this such a compelling opportunity.
Well, let's say one, I believe investors in preclinical biotech or even early clinical biotech have to have the right tolerance for high risk slash high reward opportunities. But if you do, you're invited to join our ground floor investors in our technology. You don't need to be rich. Anyone can invest. Unlike a lot of, I'd say number two, unlike a lot of other crowdfunding portals, Net Capital provides a secondary trading market via Rialto Markets that could provide liquidity prior to an IPO or acquisition under the right circumstances. So we're always thinking about exit opportunities for our investors. And three, this is one of those investments that's not just about the money or ROI potential. This is a chance to change the world and have a heck of a lot of fun and excitement along the way. So, we think those are compelling reasons. And if anyone agrees, we'd love to have them join us.
Amazing. John Adamson, CEO of DeoBioSciences. Can't wait to get the story in front of our audience and see all the progress I'm sure you have in front of you guys. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Michael. It's great being here with you.